She might get her pass revoked if she keeps dishing Trumans like she is. What do you live there? Yeah, I do.
You're either on the bus or you're off the bus.
Welcome aboard episode 49 of Ridin the Bus. The official Iowa Wild podcast is on the way. And for the second time in our show's history, Ben Gislason joined by another rotation of guest hosts. And for the first time in the history of this establishment where we're currently sitting, we're coming to you from inside video headquarters, inside of the Iowa Wild locker room, with none other than the video coach of the Iowa Wild, Ray Sylvester. And Ray, it's great to have you. We have a great guest today in Dylan Ferguson, but let's start with this. We're inside Video HQ here. This is an area that there are different levels of clearances that one has to have to get into this room, and you were kind enough to allow cameras in here today. I know this might make you a bit uncomfortable, but thank you for not only guest hosting, but for welcoming us to these lovely confines of yours that I know it's a high security area.
No problem, Ben. I love watching the podcast, and I love listening to you guys over the summer and all the interviews that you guys do, and it's very special to me to be a guest host on this podcast. And as far as video headquarters, there are different clearances. I did have to clear this with a couple of different security advisors, but they said it was okay. It's just a video room for an American League hockey team. But no, yeah, this is my office, and this is where the work gets done.
It's one of those days at Wells Fargo Arena where it's hard to find a spot to record. Although when we grabbed our first spot to record our interview with Dylan Ferguson, that was terrific. We didn't think about Video HQ until we had already set up. And so now that we've had the opportunity to come down here and record this in here, it worked out really nicely because it was a great idea by you to suggest video headquarters as the spot for welcoming you on as a guest host. Your first time podcasting. You're an avid podcast listener, I know. But what are your expectations of yourself today as a co-host of the Ridin the Bus podcast?
Just to bring in the conversation, be a helper to you as the main host, kind of like a co-pilot, if you will. But just kind of try to give my insight and not ruin the show.
You won't. Great to have everybody with us today, Ridin the Bus, presented by Central Iowa Pool and Spa. And Ray, for starters, fans may not know a lot about you, may not know a lot about video coaches. And what is true about video coaches is this. You're the first to arrive, you're the last to leave, and the amount of time you spend inside of this place or your hotel room on the road, hunched over a computer, cutting clips, it's incredible. The work ethic that you have, the work ethic that video coaches in general have. For our fans, break it down for them. What does a day in the life of Ray Sylvester look like as you go about video coaching the Iowa Wild?
So I'll just kind of go through today. It started with getting a meeting ready for our game on Friday. We play tomorrow against Rockford, but that kind of work for me is already done. It was done for me on Sunday just before our game against Milwaukee. So I was getting prepared for our game Friday against Milwaukee, getting a pre-scout package ready so all the coaches kind of know what to expect, even though we just played them, to see if anything changed from our previous pre-scout and areas we did well and maybe not so well against Milwaukee over the weekend. And then once everybody else starts to filter in and the players start to filter in, I try to get a lineup ready, and we have our coaches meeting that consists of that lineup and a practice plan, and the first day of the week after games usually consists of going over the chances for and against of the previous game, and we put those into a spreadsheet, and we keep a season total going of that just to kind of see where everybody's at and where we had a good weekend and a bad weekend, and kind of see where we were the last time we played that team with the chances for and against. So and then once around 9:20 hits, I starting to get ready for the meeting we have with the players, and it was kind of a review today of what we did over the weekend, and after that, getting ready for practice and making sure that all the sheets are hung up and all the information that the players need is there for them. And then after practice, kind of go over practice, what we liked, what we didn't like, and still kind of getting ready for that Milwaukee game on Friday for myself, while the other coaches are kind of prepping for our game tomorrow night. And then today was kind of a special day because I got to come to the rink and get ready for the podcast.
Which you were prepared for. A great interview coming up with Dylan Ferguson, who's an incredible story. And the more I learn about him, a pretty incredible guy as well, and a great storyteller. He tells some fantastic stories. His NHL debut was wild. His NHL first start was wild. And a guy that what I love about the interview we had with Dylan is we sort of finish it with, he's not done yet. Even though he's been brought to the Iowa Wild, very much so to be a 1-2 older counterpart to Jesper Wallstedt and Samuel Halavi this season, he is not sailing off into the sunset of his career yet. He has aspirations to get back to the National Hockey League, and I'm excited to get to see him hopefully do that again.
Yeah, that's great. Dylan's a great guy. He's a pleasure to come to work with every single day. He brings energy. He battles on every single shot in practice. He doesn't take a shot off in practice, and he is a great storyteller. He had some really cool stories, some great stories. I think as goalies, they kind of get pegged as weird or whatever, and he definitely has his quirks and weird stuff about him, but he was great on the podcast, and you love to hear that every day he's still trying to get back to the NHL, and he wants to get to the NHL, and that's the kind of attitude that you want, if you're in the American League. And that's the attitude our rookies have, our first, second-year pro guys have. But as a guy that's been in the game for a while, you still want that attitude and that mindset going into every day.
For the Iowa Wild, things have been going well recently, coming off of a weekend sweep of the Milwaukee Admirals. This podcast being recorded before the midweek game against the Rockford Ice Hogs. So we'll talk about last weekend, and then we'll talk about what's ahead. As we record this, we don't know what the results of Wednesday's game against the Ice Hogs will be. But Ray, let's talk about the weekend that was. The most successful weekend sweep in this coaching staff's tenure with the Wild. It never had a better home weekend than that. 2 sweeps a year ago at home. You already have one in the bank now. Talking with Brett McLean, the one thing that really jumped out, it sounded like, was just the way this team defended. Would you say, be the hallmark of the weekend, and the hallmark really since Charlotte, too, is when this defensive run of play has really started to showcase success, and this past weekend it wound up in results, too.
Yeah, I thought it was great in Charlotte, the way we defended and the way we battled, too. I think they kind of go together, and we didn't really get the results that we wanted in Charlotte, but we saw that we were starting to play the right way. We were trending in the right direction. We had another good week of practice, and we got the results. And this weekend against Milwaukee, just the way we battled, the way we killed plays, and when the puck was on our stick and we had a good opportunity to score, we did. And it's kind of what we've been trying to preach to these guys, and they preach to each other, is you're not always going to get the result that you want, and maybe even the result that you thought you deserved. But when you stick with it and you have that consistency, that one of these days you will get the result, and it boded true for us this weekend against Milwaukee.
Before we get to the Dylan Ferguson interview, a couple of games that fans should be licking their chops at coming up towards the end of the month here. December 20th. I'm curious, Ray, have you ever dressed up as Santa Claus before?
I have.
You have?
Actually, every year when we were kids, one of my uncles would be Santa Claus on Christmas Eve and give us, all the kids and my family, a stocking and a gift that usually consisted of a giant-sized Hershey bar and some lottery tickets, some scratch-offs, and some pajamas to wear the night of Christmas Eve. And then as we got kind of older, I started dressing up. It kind of became a little bit of a joke, and so I did that for a couple of years. It was always a good thing. We might bring it back this year. I don't know yet. We'll see when I get back home.
That was not staged. I did not know about this story before I asked you that question. Very, very good. Well done.
Yeah, and
that's a great contribution.
Not a mall Santa Claus. I'm not on that level yet. Just a Christmas Eve.
Maybe someday.
At one, maybe someday. Yeah, definitely.
I bring it up. December 20th, SantaCon. The Iowa Wild will be hopefully welcoming thousands of Santa Claus impersonators. Maybe the real Santa Claus will show up. We'll never know because there'll be so many of them in the building. But SantaCon on December 20th, also Teddy Bear Toss Night, which we just saw in Charlotte not that long ago. Great night to come out and watch the Iowa Wild, and also a great time to do your best Santa Claus impression. That's December 20th. Then December 28th, ring in the new year with the Iowa Wild. We'll have post-game fireworks that night as well. Also, I think there's a diamond giveaway when you walk in, if you can believe that.
Oh, wow.
It's a small diamond, but
Yeah.
it's still a diamond.
Are those
is what I've
fireworks
been told.
indoors, too?
They are
They're
indoors.
indoors.
We
Wow.
had this last year. You,
Yeah.
you were probably in Video HQ. So
Yeah,
you didn't
probably headquarters.
experience-
Not much of a view here.
No, there's not. But some great reasons to come out and check out the Iowa Wild this holiday season. Tons of games. The hustle and bustle of the holidays is certainly on. At that, anything else we want to touch on before we pitch it over and pitch it actually upstairs for a location change? We're up in the Tom Curver's press box for this upcoming interview. Anything else, Ray, before we get to Dylan?
No, just a great weekend against Milwaukee, and we're looking forward to Rockford midweek, and Milwaukee, a little travel for us. Milwaukee and Rockford coming up.
Before we get to our upcoming interview, Ray, now is your opportunity to do your best Joey Goldstein impression. We've got our Central Iowa Pool and Spa ad read.
Perfect.
Take it away.
Dreaming of a backyard escape? Central Iowa Pool and Spa can turn your vision into reality. Our expert design team will work with you to create a custom pool that perfectly complements your outdoor space. From sleek modern design to classic elegance, we offer a wide range of options to suit your style and budget. Our experienced installation team ensures a smooth process from start to finish. Let us create your dream oasis today. Call us at 515-263-6900 or stop in at Central Iowa Pool and Spa, 5360 Northeast 14th Street, Des Moines, Iowa.
What was that word?
Pool and Spa.
We'll get to that more on that later. Let's head to period 2 with goaltender of the Iowa Wild, Dylan Ferguson. On to period 2 and on to our special guest today, joined by Dylan Ferguson, Iowa Wild goaltender. Dylan, it's great to have you on. I've been wanting to have you on. Anybody that pays attention to the Wild broadcasts, that pays attention to this podcast, I'm obsessed with goalies, maybe in like a weird way, not to creep you out at all, but goalies to me are fascinating creatures. And you're one of them. So thanks so much for coming on and being a part of this today.
I appreciate
and
that,
for welcoming Ray to the podcast, too, because this is
Ray.
he's guest hosting for the first time in the history of his podcasting life. I believe. I don't think you've podcast episode hosted any other shows, have you?
No, I'm a first-time guest host. I'm a long-time listener, and I've called into the show as well for in the summer for some questions to ask to Benny G. But I'm excited to be in front of the microphone this time.
It's some real heavy hitters.
I'm a little nervous for him to be here, to be honest.
Why are you nervous that he's here?
I don't know what he's going to ask me.
Was it because of last week?
We're not going to talk about that.
I kind of torched the goalies last week.
We're not going to talk
on the ice.
Really?
But it led to a good weekend. So.
Well, you do have a great release on your snapshot. I've been told. I've never seen it, but I've been told that you can bring it. Is that true? Does he have a good shot, Dylan, or is that just
not bad.
BS from the coaching staff that they tell me?
You got to be nice to the coaches, you know.
Some would say it's my only attribute that's good on the ice.
Well, as always, Dylan, we want people to feel like they're sitting on the bus next to you. It's called Ridin the Bus. So tell us a great bus story. Put us on the bus, and it does not have to be with the Iowa Wild. It could be anywhere in your 6-year pro career. I don't know what travel was like over in the KHL. We're going to get to that, but tell us a great bus story.
I was going to go straight there, actually, to the KHL.
There we go.
We took one bus. We would usually take planes, but we took a bus to a nearby city. And the traffic was so bad that we just had to sit there for, I think it was 6 hours on this bus. And it turned into, like, guys sleeping on the bus. We got into our place at probably 4 in the morning. We had a long day of travel back and forth, and we actually slept on the bus and stayed there, woke up, and we had a pregame skate at 8 in the morning. And went straight from the bus to the ice, and that was probably one of my better games of the year, actually. so I think, give me that opportunity again this year. I'm ready to go.
I really hope you don't have that opportunity again this year, because if that happens, I'm probably going to be in a lot of trouble as the team services provider.
You can't control the traffic.
That's true, but I'm not sure it would matter. You know how it goes. When
Yeah.
travel things go awry,
Yeah.
the arrows start flying at me. I've been asked to go fly planes before by some players.
Really?
I don't think they're being serious, but
They might be.
they acted very serious in their verbal assault on me as to why this plane wasn't getting off.
If
the
I'm
ground.
trusting anyone to fly a plane in this organization, it's you, Benny.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've received some compliments over the years. That's pretty high praise. It must just be because I'm having you on the podcast and you have a microphone on.
Yeah. That and you're a man of many jobs. So
Do you have a co-pilot, Ben?
with
That you
that
would-
hair,
that you
it's
would
got to
take?
be him.
You're trying to throw your name in, aren't you?
If you don't have a co-pilot, I'd like to throw in my resume.
What on your resume would suggest that you would deliver as a great co-pilot,
Well,
aside from the fact that you're co-piloting this podcast?
Well, I've flown on many planes. You know, I've been a passenger, so I'm kind of ready for that next step. I think is the kind of tiers go of flying a plane. You have to fly on one first, and then you kind of go on to the pilot section of the plane.
You're hired. That's it. If we're ever in this situation, Fergie, you've heard it here first, that Ray and I will take over and make sure that the plane gets to where it has to get to.
It's like watching your parents drive the car growing up.
Exactly.
You can step in and do it.
Get behind the car.
Exactly.
Perfect.
It's like playing goalie.
Yeah, you already know what
You
you're
got to
doing.
watch someone play goalie first.
Yeah, when you have a shot like yours, I wouldn't step in the net.
No.
There
Little
we go.
better?
A little
There we
better.
go.
Yeah. First time podcast guy. The microphone's got to be closer to your face than you
Okay.
think.
You don't have a mask on.
Yeah, it's the same space probably. too.
Yeah.
Dylan, we've talked about this at length already, but for anybody that is jumping on the podcast that hasn't heard you tell the story on the broadcast, it was quite a journey for you to get here in the first place. The expectation was not for you to be at least with the Iowa Wild this season. Here we are in December. You've won a host of games for the Iowa Wild. You've played spectacular in goal, and you're a huge part of this team. But not even that long ago in September, you knew the Iowa Wild existed, but I'm not sure you thought that you'd be sitting here on Ridin the Bus, the podcast. Walk us through the saga, and it's a podcast, so spare no detail. Tell us as much as
Yeah.
you'd like to tell us about it, because it's quite a journey that you've been on to get here and to be stopping pucks the way you have with the Wild.
Yeah, no, first of all, I'm really grateful for the opportunity here. It was a lot of patience on my end, a lot of moving pieces. I made the decision after my first year in the KHL that, you know, I wanted to come back and give it another kick at the can to get back into the NHL. And, you know, I got a really cool opportunity with Vancouver on a PTO in my hometown, which I feel kind of put my name back on the map a little bit in North America. And, you know, a week into that camp, I get a call from my agent saying Iowa has a contract for you. And I remember just sitting there and being like, let's go. Just really excited to get back into the American League. And, you know, it's one step away from where everyone on this team wants to be, right? So, you know, if there's a lesson in it, for me, it was just you got to be ready for whatever comes your way. And I felt that I was ready because of the work that I put in and the 8-month summer I had.
Well, you got to apply that belief and that lesson, not only waiting to get that contract, but then after, because there were visa issues. It was not right away, boom, you're signed, you make your way down here. You had to continue to exercise that patience as the Minnesota Wild worked through getting you down here. What were you doing in that time? Because when you got here, boom, you were thrust right in. The season had already started by the time you showed up, which is very abnormal.
Yeah, very, but I feel like that's just been my career up to this point, is things not going exactly how I planned them to, but I just got to be ready to make whatever that gets thrown my way, you know. And I went to Toronto, got on the ice with some coaches there. I went back to Vancouver. It turned in from I think I was told a week I'd have it, and then 3 weeks later I still didn't have it, and pretty late in the summer. So I was just trying to find any ice I could to be ready. You know, the staff here, goalie coaches here were great about getting me into that game shape, but I felt when I got here I was ready to go. And I think that was the biggest thing for me, was just stay focused, because it's easy with all these, you know, all this adversity getting thrown at you and all these challenges to just kind of be like, what the heck is going on here, you know. And just staying on the right path the whole way and knowing that it's coming and just be ready for it.
Well, and you were. Your first game was in the ECHL, and you had a shutout. So, I mean, talk about starting the season out in the right vein. It's as good as it gets for a goalie,
Yeah.
at least as the season starts. Your story's a fascinating one, Dylan. The journeys you've had, the stops you've had. You have a lot of stamps on your hockey passport, whether it's not only within the American League, ECHL stops, KHL stops, 3 different countries over 6 seasons. What are some of the highlights of the 6 years so far as places you've seen, buildings you've been to, games you've played in? What jumps out when I ask you that question?
Experience would be number one. Like, I think I've been, like you said, to many places over the last 6 years, and I think just being able to see the world and the different cultures is a really cool thing for me. And been to many cities too. Like, I was actually just talking about this to a couple of my friends, and like, I've been to Dubai, Moscow, Toronto, New York, all these amazing cities in the world. And like, if you were to ask me what my favorite one was, I don't know, because there's so many cities that, you know, I've had the chance, and I feel very lucky to have gone to and just enjoy. So I think the experience of all that, just kind of, you learn a lot along the way, being so many different places. So yeah.
Dylan, do you think it's easier as a goalie or a player, or maybe a little bit similar, to be so many places and play on so many different teams, and maybe kind of like your situation this year of, you know, having that PTO with Vancouver, and then, you know, all of a sudden get a contract with Iowa and jump right in, and once you get in, you get into a game. And do you think it's maybe there's differences to being a player and a goalie with that situation, or do you think it's pretty different from a goalie to a player standpoint of just jumping into a situation?
I think it's very different in
Yeah.
the fact that I think goalies are way more under the spotlight.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. You know, like I feel, and something I've learned in my career is, like, you have to make the most of your opportunities, because it almost feels like it's almost a different sport out there, you know, like you're by yourself. It's almost like you're playing tennis and everyone else is playing baseball. You know what I mean? And I think players can kind of, not saying this is a bad thing, but like hide
Yeah.
mistakes
For sure.
inside
For sure
of the
they
system,
can.
right? And we can't. So I think it's just, yeah, Ray, that was a hell of a question.
No
man.
kidding. He comes off the
Wow.
top rope with his first
Wow.
question.
That was a hell of a question. But yeah, no, the answer 100% is I think it's different, and
Which you've handled very well.
Thank you.
You know, this year.
Yeah.
I've thought, but I was just kind of, you know, wondering. Yeah, definitely as a player, you can hide in those situations, and you know, you're also out there with, you know, your 2 other line mates if you're a forward, or you know, your defensive partner. But goalies are kind of, no matter what, they're under the spotlight.
Yeah.
You know, you're the last line of defense. So.
yeah, but we love it, and that's what makes us a little weird, right? So
I'm going to get into that.
Yeah, I know you
Trust me,
are.
I'm going to get into that. The weirdness of
I just
goalies.
opened a can of worms. For sure.
But to get into that, to dive into goaltending, people goaltending on the ice, off the ice, personalities. The first thing that I always like to ask goalies is, do you think it's more of a mental or more of a physical position?
Mental 100%.
Yeah, I think that tried and true. I've heard that answer every single time.
Yeah.
And it's probably because of what you were alluding to a little bit just in that previous question that was so eloquently asked by my co-host. When a mistake happens to a forward, it doesn't always wind up in the back of your net. When a mistake happens for a defenseman, it doesn't always wind up in the back of your net. When a mistake happens to a goalie, yes, there's the rare exception that you get lucky. The goaltender's best friend, the post, is there sometimes, or a player misses the net. But more often than not, that red light's going on.
Yeah. You know, I think I needed to repeat that question because I lost my train of thought.
It almost wasn't really a question. It was more or less just like the
statement.
stress and the
Yeah.
pressure of being a goalie would lend itself to your answer of it's mental. Tell us why the mental side of it you think is the most important part.
I think it comes from the experience thing too. And like you look at goalies when they hit their prime, it's usually right around the age I am right now, is 26. And the question is why? Well, like, I mean, I was probably a lot more energetic and faster when I was 20, but I think it's the experience and the mental capacity that you create by just having those experiences of, you know, if it's not failure, but the adversity that comes into the position, and learning how to stay even through that and maintaining your confidence and discipline. And I think as you kind of chip away at that over the years, you get to a place where it's not that you don't care, but you know you're going to be able to go out there and do your best no matter what, and you just kind of you mature.
The weirdness.
Yeah. You want to know about that?
I want to know about that.
I don't know where it stems from. I don't know if it's the pressure of the position or what it is. And I wouldn't say I'm the weirdest goalie I've ever met. I'd say
I would agree.
Yeah,
I'd agree.
Yeah, I have my
Yep.
quirks for sure. And like on game days, I'm a pretty quiet guy. Like me on a game day and me on a practice day is two different people, 100%. Like
Demonstrate that for us.
I would just sit here in silence. Like really, that's what it is just make up my mind to what I want to do, my game plan for the night, visualize, the team winning, me playing well, and just try to stay very positive. And I think that brings a lot of power. But I saw a Chris Pronger quote the other day. He talked about like on game days he had like an alter ego. Like he wasn't, he wasn't the same guy on game days. And I kind of feel that same way.
Scary guy on game days.
Yeah, but I related to that because I don't. It's not even like the pressure of the game or what it is. It's just I feel like as professional athletes, everyone, there's an extra part of you that needs to be there to do what we do.
Now, would you say with your game plan when you're visualizing a game, is it kind of how quiet you want to be, how loud you want to be, or kind of going through the other team of how they like to play and, different kind of if they're a rush team or if they like to, ozone possession time? Is that kind of what's going through your head, or is it more you or is it more the other team?
It's a bit of both. I'd say before the game, mostly me. And then, like, obviously we do our meetings, we do our team meetings, and I really just try to soak all that in. Just see even if it's like subconsciously and just see it, like see myself almost in that net on the screen making the saves. And like, I think subconsciously that kind of helps you pick up on some things during a game. Like you see a guy coming down the half wall on their power play, you know that there's an option back door without even looking, and that kind of thing. And just being ready to have that knowledge to make the right choice.
When was goalie the position? I've heard from different goalies. Some skate out for a while. A guy like Al Stalock, who played here for a while, he played out long into his youth career before he became a goalie. Others, for whatever reason, they were drawn to the position in mite hockey or atom hockey. What was the beginning like for you?
Yeah, it's a pretty good story for me. I was also a player till I was about 9 or 10 years old, and I loved it. And there was one day I remember our goalie was sick or something, and I was like, there's like something that popped in my mind. I'm like, I want to try that. So I did it. I started as a southpaw, so I started the opposite way I am now, and played well. Like I had a lot of fun, and that turned into, like I used to watch the Canucks games on the TV with my dad, and he would be humming socks at me in front of the fireplace, and I'd be just standing there.
Fireplace on?
Fireplace on. Electric though. Electric though.
Okay.
And yeah, that was really how the passion for goaltending started for me. It was, my dad in his business, he worked with some of the Canucks. So I got to meet guys like Dan Kluche and all these guys. And as a kid, those guys are your like idols, right? And I think seeing them do it, and it just grew my love for the game even more. And I was very lucky to be able to like go to this mini rink instead of going to PE at school. So like I got credit for going and getting on the ice.
Oh, Canada. That's
Canada.
awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
What
If you tried that, even in Minnesota, if you tried that, they're
It's
like,
not
that's not
happening.
going to work.
Yeah, but that's really where the passion and the choice to be a goalie came from.
That's a wonderful segue into another question I had for you. You bring up Dan Kluche. I was going to ask, was it him? Was it Roberto Luongo? Maybe a combination of both. But not only on the ice watching these goalies, but style, goaltending style. Goalies, to me, it's so unique because players can do a little bit. Yeah, like you can tuck your socks into your skate a certain way, or you can wear your elbow pads a certain way. But goalies, you've got a litany of options. The pads, the skates, the blocker, the glove, the helmet. I love that. So the styles that you grew up loving, and then the goalies, just maybe they were one and the same that you grew up loving. Who were those guys?
I mean, Patty Waugh was one of them, and I read his book twice, and so I used to like look up his highlights. I'm thinking of like the guys I'd watched. Obviously Kluche, because I'm from Vancouver, went to the games as a kid.
Did you ever want to do the helmet like he did?
Yeah, I did. I had the helmet.
You did?
I had the helmet. Yeah, when I was young. I'm sure I can find a picture somewhere. I had like the plastic. It almost looked like a bib or something.
Yes.
I had that, and I'd say him, Luongo as well. Like there's a picture of me somewhere. I actually have it where like I just out of spring league, bleach blonde hair. Like I'm the what is it, 6th player or whatever it is for the Canucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I led them on the ice and got to stand beside Roberto, who's an awesome guy. Like everyone knows, like Strombone. That has so many stories, and he actually reached out to me after my debut on Twitter, which I thought was very cool.
Kidding.
Yeah, that was really cool of him.
Did it pinch yourself after that one? I'm
yeah,
sure.
no, for sure. I've had a couple pinch me moments in the last, I don't even know what it is, 12 years now. So it's, pretty crazy.
Your debut, let's get to it, because it is quite a tale. I don't know the number of 19-year-olds that make their goaltending NHL debut at 19. It can't be very many.
I don't know.
You did.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. Walk us through it.
It was crazy. So I'll start with the draft. I was drafted by Dallas in the 2017 draft, and the next day I got traded to Vegas. And that's, something that without that happening, this debut doesn't happen, right? So, and then I just kind of went to camp, missed the first day of camp. They had drafted 2 goalies. I signed out of camp, went back to Kamloops for a bit, and I think we were in October. We just finished playing the Tri-City Americans, and we go to Boston Pizza after the game. Me and a few of the guys, we're having some wings, some pizza.
Classic post game.
Classic post game. Like the all meat bites. Oh, those things are good. Anyway, we had the Vegas game on. I forget who they were playing. Oscar Dansk was in net, and someone joked like 10 minutes before, being like, if someone gets hurt, like, you're next in line. I'm like, yeah, don't tell me that. Like,
I'm at Boston Pizza right now.
Don't tell me
I'm having all meat bites right now. This is a good
now I'm
pregame.
sitting there just like staring at the game, and literally 10 minutes later, Oscar Dansk goes down. 30 seconds after that, my phone starts ringing, and it's Kelly McCrimmon with the Vegas Golden Knights saying, "You're on a flight tonight. We'll see you at MSG tomorrow." And
MSG too.
Yeah.
Oh.
Then I step on the ice, Henrik Lundqvist is stretching right beside me. It was insane. And
Bet he wasn't at Boston Pizza the
no,
night before.
You'd hope not.
Yeah.
But if someone's gonna do it, it's probably him.
Yeah.
He could pull that off for sure. But that turned into me being there for about 3 or 4 weeks. In one of the last games against Edmonton, Max Lagacé, who went on an absolute tear for Vegas, by the way, during that. He was a workhorse. Just one of those nights, and he tweaked something in his back with 9 minutes left. Gerard Gallant looks at me and he goes, "You're going in." So, and
Okay.
go down in the tunnel, calm myself a little bit, like just breathe and go in there and do what you can, and stopped 1 of 2.
50%.
50%.
Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah. With like a 6 goals against average because I played 9 minutes.
Oh my gosh, that is well told, by the way, from one storyteller to another. Well told. That is a remarkable tale. Remarkable tale. And some of this stuff, I'm sure you'll take to your grave with you because it's personal. But can you put us into your mind in that moment when you're in the tunnel and you're breathing? Like, what's going on there?
Not much, honestly. Like
You're almost trying to make it be.
Yeah,
that
like
much.
you're almost numb in a way, to be honest, and it's just like you can't really comprehend what's happening, and that's where I was. I was just like, okay, just go out there, watch the puck, stop the puck. I think those were the words that went through my head, and after the game, my phone was just blowing up.
Yeah,
and it was so new to me, and like I didn't know what to do or like anything like that. Like I made a tweet and blew up, and it was cool, but it was just like, whoa, and I had the time. I almost played the next day against Vancouver. There was something, Max wasn't feeling great, and I was told I was playing until morning skate, so that would have been really cool to make my first start there at 19 against my hometown team, but had a lot of supporters there as well.
Your first start came years later, and as I'm learning in the story of Dylan Ferguson, there's a lot of great and remarkable stories that lead up to these big momentous moments. This is one you told me back in November when we were out in Rockford. I want our fans to hear it too, because it's not quite as crazy as that one you just told, but it's right there with it.
Yeah. I think it could be right there. Like for me, it was right there, and it is a crazy story. So I was on, a PTO with the Toronto Maple Leafs and Toronto Marlies for 48 games, which is pretty unheard of for sure. And I started, I think, 6 games. Was just battling. Couldn't find a job anywhere else. Was practicing by myself for like the last 2 months I was in Toronto, getting on the ice with Hannu Toivonen in there, who was great to help me and get me into a place where when I did get an opportunity, I was ready to go. And that turned into me signing an AHL deal with the Marlies. And the purpose of that AHL deal was to loan me to the Wichita Thunder in the East Coast League. So on Wednesday, this is sometime probably November or December, I guess, maybe later. Anyway, I hop on a plane. The plane doesn't go. The weather was too bad in Toronto. Plane couldn't take off. They rebooked me the flight for the next day. Same plane, same time. The plane brakes are frozen. The plane cannot leave. Canceled. Now we're at Friday. The team plays Saturday. They're like, okay, we're putting you in a car service. It's like a 9-hour drive, but we're not risking that again. And I get in the car. Meanwhile, I'm still showing up to the rink, and all the guys are like, what are you doing? like, what is going on? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just waiting. And I get in the car. 20 minutes into this ride, my phone starts ringing. And it's the Mike Dixon with the Marlies. And he calls me, and he's like, you're not going to believe this. I'm like, I probably will. You've been traded to Belleville. So rerouted. I was going to Cincinnati instead. I'm on my way to Belleville to play against Wilkes-Barre next day, which I did. I ended up playing, I think, 7 games for Belleville in that time frame. And I remember we played Cleveland. I think we won 3-1 in Cleveland. And I got a call. I signed the week before with Ottawa, a 2-way deal. And then we played Cleveland, beat Cleveland, and that was on a Sunday game. Got a call after that game saying I was making my debut Tuesday against Pittsburgh, which was a pretty fun one.
And was a win.
Yeah. That was obviously a game I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. And it's also, something I feel I can do again, which is awesome. And that the support that I had going into that game, just from my supporters everywhere, like family, friends, coaches, I had no doubt in my mind that I was going to go out there and just do what I could.
It strikes me, Dylan, that you don't have any doubt in your mind that you're going to do that again. Tell us why.
I think when you've done something and you want it always, it's just like you just have to make the decision that, if it happens or it doesn't, I know I did my best to do it. So that's kind of where I'm at now, and that's why I came back to North America, is because I want to get back there and I want to show that I can stay there. Kids,
take notes. That is something that you can implement, whether it's in hockey or other aspects of life. Memories, things that you were rehashing, these great memories of yours. Let's look at more of the granular level. One save. If there's a save that you get to show your kids someday, one save, whether it's the moment of the save or the type of save you made, pick that one. What's the one save that, and don't say the next one like some cliched goalie line.
No, I would say right now, if I were to show a save, it'd be glove save against Malkin.
Oh, he's a decent hockey player.
It's not bad.
Yeah, I'd say that would be the save.
What walk us through it?
It was the start of the second period. No, maybe not the start. A couple minutes in. And
this was the day, the win, right?
Yeah,
the start. This was the first
2-1
start.
in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
And he kind of came over the blue line and kind of like faked a snapshot. D-man backed off a bit, and like he wound up at the top of the circles, and I just like full splits, windmill, And that
Malkin's like, who's this guy?
Showing me up like that.
You know what? It's like in the video they turn to him and he's just like cursing in Russian, and I'm like, oh, it's that would be the save.
I would say so. That seems right. Do you have on the other side of that? Do you have a most embarrassing hockey moment? Everybody has this, like whether it's coming out with skate guards on or slipping and falling, something like that. What comes to mind for you?
My first game back from the little Vegas trip I had there.
Back to Kamloops.
Back to Kamloops. Yep. I remember I was on a plane. Don Hay calls me, my head coach. He goes, "Yeah, you're playing tonight." And I was on a plane. I showed up to the rink at 4, or I landed at 3.
God, you're Mr. Ready at a moment's notice, aren't you?
Yeah, you have to be. You just have to be. I don't give myself a choice anymore. It's bit me in the arse before. And he called me. He's like, "You're playing tonight." My first reaction, I'm like, "What?" I call my goalie coach. I'm like, "Is he being serious?" I'm like, "Yeah." And it was a good weekend. We went 2-0, but I go out to, when I get on the ice, I'm a highly energy guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm a high energy guy, and I like to, get that energy up. First step, just toe pick so hard.
Welcome back from the NHL.
Yeah, like it's my first game there in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And it was a big game against Vancouver. The barn was almost sold out. And I was good in warm-ups, step out for the game when they're announcing the lineup.
Right on your face.
Yeah, couldn't even catch myself. I was moving so fast. Boom. That would be my most embarrassing moment, for sure.
Ray, got anything? I've been hogging the mic.
Kind of like Fleury against Detroit in the Stanley Cup final when he's coming out of that. You ever see that video? He's coming out of the door, and he.
The exact same thing.
Kind of exactly.
It
like
was
that.
almost identical.
Like this guy
And
just
I
got
saw
called
that,
up to the
I'm like,
NHL.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I think he joked about that too the one time. He's also a great guy. I've got some good Fleury stories too, if we get there.
Let's get there.
Okay. So when I was there, he's obviously an unbelievable guy and someone who you could just go up and talk to, and he's also a prankster.
I have heard that.
And everyone knows that. So, I'm the new kid on the block, and we have this massive team media, PR, owners, everybody's there at dinner. And I think we were in Montreal in this crazy restaurant, and
we're working on setting up a similar media Iowa Wild meal sometime too. Yeah, no, totally joking.
They're fun.
Well, I know.
They are
I'm
fun.
sure they're a great time.
They're a great time. But I'm sitting beside, I got William Carrier here, and I think it was William Karlsson here. And I'm just sitting there, just listening, staring around. I don't
Deer in
know.
headlights.
Yeah, deer in the headlights. It's my third day there. And Mark comes over. He's throws his arm on William Karlsson. He's talking, and I don't think I'm not looking over there, And
It's Marc-Andre Fleury.
yeah, he goes and sits down, and all of a sudden, just ting, 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 ting.
Oh
They're
boy.
banging the glasses.
I think I know what's coming here.
And I'm sitting there, and I start turning red and start sweating. I'm like, oh, I know what's coming. And he goes in his friend, "Hey, Fergie, look at your shoe." And I look, and this massive glob of horseradish.
Yep.
And I had to stand up and show 200 people that Marc-Andre Fleury shoe checked me.
Oh.
And there was a time as well.
So you had to sing, though. Did you have to
No,
sing?
I didn't
They didn't
have to
make you
sing.
sing.
I did not
okay,
have to
because that's a
sing.
part of shoe checking, right?
It is.
Well, so they were kind to you in front of 200 strangers. Yeah.
I'm forever grateful for that.
Yeah.
For sure.
What would you have sung if you had to sing there, do you think? Did you have one in the hopper that you were ready? I feel like hockey players, I always had one in the hopper when I played junior because you had to be ready in case it happened. This obviously was never happening to me at the same grand stage it happened to you, but did you have one in mind that you would have gone with if you had to?
My mind went completely.
You went blank.
I just sat down. I don't even know if they wanted a song. I just sat down.
Just shrink.
here's
Just
the-
get
here's
me
the
out of the
shoe.
limelight.
Sit down. No, it was one time he taped up my suit in a ball in San Jose.
Oh, my gosh. That's
Tossed it.
amazing. That's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Wow. That's phenomenal. As we get towards the end of our show here, I want to touch on shots. Guys that you have played against. You stopped one of them in Evgeni Malkin, I'm sure, but is there this guy's got the best shot I've ever seen, whether it's the fastest or the hardest or both? Who jumps out as man, I had to deal with this, and this was quite a release that this player had? Who is that guy?
Max Pacioretty. is right there. I had Matthews in Toronto for a bit, which was obviously his release is unbelievable. But Pacioretty probably is the heaviest and hardest. Like I knew it was gonna hurt if I stopped it. It was one of those shots, and like we have the best equipment, top of technology, but no matter where that shot hit you, it felt like somebody just shot like a beanbag out of a gun at you. And I mean, honestly, Ogie's pretty close.
Yeah. I was going to ask about him.
Ogie can rip a puck too. Like when he's one of the guys in practice that you got to be, okay, I got to dial in a little more here.
I'm surprised he hasn't broken the glass yet. Like it hits the glass so hard that I'm surprised the glass hasn't broken yet.
I agree. I'm surprised my hand hasn't.
You ever seen a guy score an identical goal like that back-to-back nights?
No.
I mean, it was crazy,
no,
right?
Identical.
Right.
And he knew what he was doing, too. He did the
He
exact
said
same
he
thing.
didn't.
We
interviewed him in between periods.
I don't believe that.
And I asked him the first night, like, what were you thinking? He goes, nothing. And then the next night, our rinkside reporter, John Schaefer, goes, so I know Ben asked you last night, and you said you weren't thinking about it, but you had to be thinking about it this time. And he goes, no. And I'm like, right.
Yeah.
No
Too
way.
nice of a guy.
Way
no
too nice. Too
way.
humble. Too humble.
It's incredible.
So
incredible.
is it more of the speed of the shot, how hard the shot is, or the release kind of that makes it more hard?
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there are guys that have an amazing release that don't shoot the puck as hard and still beat goalies, and the other way around. Ogie's got both.
Yeah.
Pacioretty had both. There's guys that just have both, and you have to be very aware of those guys.
Well, Dylan, this has been a real treat, man. Thanks so much for doing this. This was great to talk with you. There's still more layers of the onion that we need to get to, and I think we will at some point. But a huge thanks for stopping by and doing this and for sharing so much. I was fascinated, per usual, with goalies. That's how it goes for me. Thanks, man.
Thank you. It was great being here, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks
Ray?
for coming on, Dylan.
Thanks for being here, Ray.
No, thanks. I get to see you every day, and it's a joy every day.
Thanks to Dylan Ferguson for giving us a ton of time. I could have taken even more time with Dylan, and I think maybe someday I will. A really interesting guy, an interesting goaltender, and someone who I will watch his career not only progress here in Iowa, and hopefully there's more years maybe ahead for him with the Wild, but he wants to get back to the National Hockey League, and I love the way he ended that by saying, I've done it before, and you're just so hungry to do it again. I've heard that from other players, sometimes younger guys, once they get up there. Mikey Milne said it to me earlier this season as well. He got that NHL debut back in November, and he said it just makes you that much hungrier to try to get back there. And I know aspirations for you are to get there someday too, maybe. So, and for me, so we can all feel that, and maybe someday we'll get to experience it. But for now, thanks to Dylan, and thanks to you doing a great job on the interviewing side. I wasn't sure how prepared you were going to come. You told me you had some questions, but you didn't come with any notes. You didn't bring a computer, so I went, we'll see what happens here. And you came off the top rope with that first question. It was a doozy of a question, I thought. So well done to you, Ray.
Thank you. I wasn't really sure about what I could bring. I saw your computer. I'm like, all right, maybe I should have brought a sheet of paper, or a computer. Thankfully, my old noggin had it all the information there.
So a few things to discuss as we close out. Really catered to you and catered to your Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania background, born and raised, proud of the Steel City. But there are some things that have become a bit of a debate point within the Wild locker room, specifically with the staff, specifically with the coaches, myself, supporting staff that is involved in all the traveling we do and all the conversations we get to have. And it came up early in our show because our sponsor is Central Iowa Pool and Spa. But when you did the ad read, there was a word in there that is pronounced differently by everyone on this staff except for you. Do you care to share more about that?
Yeah, I think everybody else on the staff was raised in a different part of this country or other countries, as we have a few Canadians on staff. And I say pool. Other people say
it
pool.
again.
Pool. I don't know if it's just not really pronouncing the L at the end, or not letting people know that there's two O's.
I'm not even sure how I'd spell that.
Pole. Yeah, kind of a P-O-L-E. Kind of like a telephone pole.
Even that's straight, like pole.
Yeah.
But you're almost halfway in between. You're halfway in between pool and pole. It's like pole.
I think growing up in Pittsburgh, and it's a steel workers town, an iron workers town, and they're always on the move. They're always getting stuff done. So we're not really worried about our words. We're also kind of get done quickly too. You got the next shift to pick up. So just pull. We're going to the pull. I don't have time to enunciate that word.
You're on to the next thing. On to the next question. Same idea here. Tournament. It's not tournament in Pittsburgh either, is it?
No, I say tournament.
Tournament.
Yeah.
Which, to me, you actually may have a little more of an argument on this one, because when you look at the word tournament,
yeah,
your argument is
there is a U between the O and the R.
It's spelled like tour.
Yeah, tournament. Tournament, not tournament, because you're not pronouncing the O. And some people, that's just that's how they talk. I say it the right way, tournament, because there is an O-U-R.
We'll have to wait and see what our fans think about. That's a great poll question. Pool or poll? Say it for me. I can't say it. I can't say it appropriately.
There's P-O-L-L, P-O-L-E, and then P-O-O-L. Just it's all the same to me. It's poll. It's like
it's poll or tournament or tournament.
It's like there for me. There.
All pronounced the same.
They're all pronounced the same. They're just different
and pronounced
spellings.
the same in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Yes. No changes. No tweaks there.
I understand the poll argument. I don't understand the tournament. I don't get the tournament. You're not turning somewhere. It's a tournament. You're taking. It's many teams coming in for that weekend of games.
It's a tour of other teams.
Yeah.
Is what you'd suggest.
Tour of the city. Tour of other teams.
I suppose there could be some validity to that. As we close out, there was some early discussion with our videographer, Abby Kimball, who you've granted video HQ clearance to, although she's on thin ice, apparently, is what I've been told.
I'll say this about security clearance. I don't have to give anybody security clearance. People, I can give them passes. They can come. Some, different passes mean different things, and I thought I was very nice giving her a pass today, and then she kind of came in and kind of dissed my favorite restaurant. Your favorite restaurant as well.
It's not my favorite restaurant in Des Moines. I won't say that, but I do enjoy going there very much.
Yeah,
it's a man of my word. I'm not going to throw Truman's on the top because I have some other places that I adore, but I very much enjoy going to Truman's. Yeah. It's a great spot. And that's what you're getting at.
Yeah, and it's I would say other staff members say it's their favorite spot in Des Moines. They would. And it's a great place, family atmosphere, great pizza, burgers, wings. Great everything, actually. Great ambiance, if you will. Great Sunday spot to watch football games. They have a good TV, area there, and a lot of Christmas decorations. And they did a very good job. Have you been there in December?
Well, the last time we were there was, when was it now? Were they decorated?
I don't think they were.
It was last week, I think. It would have been right at the beginning of December.
I don't think you were there.
I feel like they weren't. It was early.
You got to go.
Because we had not long gotten back from Charlotte, so it was like the first or the second. It was early.
Yeah, you got to go and see their Christmas decorations. It's phenomenal job there. It's cozy. It's nice. It's just a really good atmosphere. Their family atmosphere.
We have to do an episode over at Central Iowa Pool and Spa. At some point, it will happen. But once we get that taken care of, Truman's could very easily be a spot that maybe we do some live podcast recordings at.
I think so.
I think they'd be open to that. I know you've got great relationships with many of their folks over there, so we may have to throw that into the ether and see if it comes out on the other end, because that could be a great way to continue expanding our brand and do a live show recording somewhere, and maybe see if we can't get some people to show up to Truman's and learn how grand of a spot it truly is.
Definitely, and I think that's the part. You have to learn how great it is, and you can't just automatically come in and kind of diss a place, almost kind of look down on a place.
But when you walk in, there's nothing to look at and diss.
Exactly.
Really, there isn't. From the outside, when you walk in, the staff is kind, and they'll greet you with a smile. And I'd give it a good review.
And it's a family atmosphere. You can bring your family. And hearing from Abby, she hasn't been there.
I was asking questions.
And I think it was the tone, Abby, the greatest place on earth. What, do you live there? That's kind of the tone I got.
I didn't know there were apartments above there.
She thought you legitimately. You're not the first person that thought that you lived. There's other people that have literally thought, I think, that you live there.
Yeah.
If I lived above a restaurant, I would probably frequent there too. I'm sorry, Ray.
we'll have
She's
to take
upset because of the clearance level. She's
Yeah,
concerned that she's about to get the
She's worried
red,
that
clearance
that
level
this is-
red, and
yeah,
then she's
soak
out.
it all in, Abby, because you might not be
This
back.
episode should be called Under the Bus because I just got thrown right under.
Look at that, quick on her feet too.
No kidding. No kidding.
We'll have
That
to
was
bring Abby
quick.
to Truman's one of these
That
nights
was
and
quick.
and see.
Allowed?
Yeah, you're allowed.
He's not in charge of security clearance levels at
No.
Truman's. He's not.
I'm just a member there.
He's not. Well, Ray, you were someone that was early on the list when we knew that Goldstein was going to be making his departure to go back east, and this whole guest hosting rotation was going to happen. You were high on the list, and you did not disappoint. Thank you for doing this today. A huge thank you for allowing us into Video HQ. I don't spend as much time in here as I would like. It's a great place. And to finish, can you share how the naming came? Because when Keith Paulson was here, your predecessor, this place was not called Video Headquarters. Can you share with us how this came to be?
So it was actually my first couple of days at, I think it was Prospect Camp, with our new staff. Everybody was new, and we're kind of talking about where we would do video and individual video and just kind of getting everything ironed out as you do with a new staff. And, we thought of that office over there to the left of the coach's room. And I think I said was, you guys can always go into Video Headquarters too. Jokingly. I didn't even, I just kind of, we were in a joking mood, and I kind of just said that jokingly, and everybody loved it. So Mac, I think, within a half hour, told Shaky that we need to get a nameplate for the door that said Video Headquarters, and it's been that ever since.
And it may never change.
I don't think so.
Regardless of who the coaches are here, 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the road,
Yeah.
this spot may always be Video HQ.
It's probably going to be on the job requirements.
I think so.
For the next
It's
guy,
gotta
it
stay.
has to stay.
It's got to stay. Ray, thanks for this. This has been a real blast, pal. Thanks for co-hosting with me and doing a stellar job.
Well, thanks for thinking of me to do this podcast. Like I said, I'm a frequent listener, and I like listening to you talk, and my family does too. They always ask me. Why wasn't Benny G doing the game if we have a national game or whatever?
A national game,
yeah,
a TV game.
The TV game.
I mean, I like the national game.
Yeah.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
We're working on getting these games national.
But they're big fans too.
Well,
so
I'm big fans of the Sylvester family as well. And to our fans, thanks so much for joining us here on episode 49 of Ridin the Bus, the official Iowa Wild podcast. A big thank you to Dylan Ferguson as well, to Abby Kimball, and to Jeremy Core of Executive Podcast Solutions for making this all viewable and listenable for our fans out there. For Ray Sylvester and everybody else that made this show possible, I'm Ben Gislason. Thanks for joining us, and as always, still haven't got anybody to get this one right. 2 honks for the win.
should have knew that one.